everyone. Today we're going to continue our lesson on conditional statements, and today we're going to address the law of detachment and the law of syllogism. So the law of detachment basically states that if P then Q is given, and if P is a true statement, then the conclusion is that Q is a true statement. So what I mean by that, and I'm going to zoom in here so we can see me actually write, is if we are given that you are a student in the class. So if you are in this class, then you are a sophomore. Okay, so this part right here would be the P, and this part here right here would be the Q. Okay. So we are also given that you are in this class. So since that first part came true, then that means you are a sophomore. So the conclusion is you are a sophomore. So the first part has to come true in order for the second part to be true. Okay, let's take a look at another example. If a student plays sports, so this would be our P, then the student is passing all of his or her classes. That's our Q. Okay, then it states that Henry is playing sports. That's the given. So that first part right here came true. So if the first part comes true, then the second part is true. So the conclusion is Henry is passing all of his or her classes. Okay. Now here's an example of where the law of detachment would not work. So this is our P, if a student plays sports. Our Q is then the student is passing his or her classes. Q. The given is Henry is passing all of his classes. That wasn't the first part. Okay, and by that first part, I mean P. So that would be a good active note. So P must be true in order for there to be a conclusion. So since P did not happen, we cannot conclude that Q happened. Okay, and it kind of sums it up there right below you too. It says there's no conclusion because you need the hypothesis, which is the first part, to be true, not the conclusion as the given. Okay. Also, Henry may not play sports, but he's still passing all of his classes. Okay, so we are going to look at some statements, and we are going to write a valid conclusion if we can use the law of detachment. If we cannot write a valid conclusion, then we just write no conclusion. So our conditional statement, if a person is afraid of heights, that's our P. Then our Q is they do not ride roller coasters. Remember that the P has to come true first. The given is the answer does not ride roller coasters. That's the Q. That's the conclusion of our conditional statement. So this is not possible using the law of detachment. So no conclusion. So again, the P of the conditional statement, which is the hypothesis, must be true. Okay, here's another example. If I get a B on my geometry quiz, that's the hypothesis, the P. Then I'm happy about my quiz grade. That's the Q. That's the conclusion of the conditional statement. Alia is happy about her geometry quiz grade. That's the given. Is that the P or the Q? It's the Q. Therefore, this would be no conclusion again. Remember that we need the hypothesis to be true, which is the P. Okay. If I fail the geometry test, that's our P, then I did not study enough for the test. That's the Q. The given, Grant failed the geometry test. Is that the P or the Q? hopefully you said the P. So since the hypothesis came true, then that means that the conclusion is also true, which would be Grant did not study enough for the test. Okay. So the biggest takeaway from this, using the law of detachment, is that the hypothesis has to be the one that is given to you that is true. If it is the conclusion, which is the Q, you cannot use the law of detachment. Okay, next page. We are going to learn about the law of syllogism. The law of syllogism is basically another way to say a chain rule. Okay, so if P is true, then Q is true. So this would be P. This would be Q. Then, if Q is true, R is true. Notice that I have a red mark in both of those statements, okay, the Q and the Q. I call this the middleman. If the middleman is the same, then we can use the law of syllogism, which allows us to say then, if P, then R is true. Okay, so the middleman has to be the same. So I will go ahead and highlight it here for you. The middleman is the same. If that is true, then you can draw the conclusion, if P, then R. Okay. So assuming that the following statements are true, use the law of syllogism, which is the chain rule, to write another true statement. You may need to reorder that. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and start labeling this. So if it is raining is the P. Q, the sky is cloudy. If the sky is cloudy, which is Q, then you can't see the sun, which is R. The middleman is the same. If the middleman is the same, then you can draw the conclusion, if P, then R. So we would say, if it is raining, then you can't see the sun. So basically, you cut out the middleman. Okay. All right, let's look at the next example. Okay. The planet Yurkan, sure, is full of unusual creatures. Here are some facts about the creatures. I have no idea how to pronounce half of these. If you are a xanthoid, then you are a Korg. So here is our P. Here is our Q. Okay. Then our next line states, if you are a Mirk, then you are a Ving. So those are different animals. So we're going to give them different letters. So we're going to say that this is R and this is S. Then it says if you are a Korg, then you are a Wicklop. So we have a Korg. We have that already. That's a Q. But then we have a Wicklop, so that's W. Okay, you can assign different letters if the topics keep changing. Okay. All right, so let's sum this up over off to the side. So if P, then Q. If R, then S. And if Q, then W. Okay. We do have the law of syllogism if we look at the first and the last statement. Notice that Q is the same. It's the middleman. So if P, then W. All right, now let's answer some questions. So it says Dorla is a Mirk. What else must be true about Dorla? So go to where we see a Mirk, which is right here. If you are a Mirk, then you are also a Ving. This would be an example of the law of detachment. So we would say Dorla is a Ving. Okay. Then it says Zim is a Zintoid. Zim is what other two creatures? Well, if Zim is a Zintoid, oh my goodness. If Zim is a Zintoid, then they are also a Korg, which is right here. So Zim is a Korg. And because of the law of syllogism, Zim is also a Wicklop. Okay. All right. Last example on this page. It says reorder all the following statements and make a valid conclusion from all the statements using the law of syllogism. You must show how you ordered the given statements and write your conclusion. So a little active note over here. Remember that the original and the contrapositive have the same truth value. Okay, so remember, what is the contrapositive? So if you have P then Q, okay, it would be not Q and then not P. Okay, so the givens So givens